All right, let's talk about Bitcoin, Elliott Wave analysis, and some higher time frame confluence levels here. So we had a really nice rise up on Bitcoin. We snagged a good long here on this. So let's kind of look at why we longed in this zone. Always just looking at the 618 and the 66 back test after a major high has been put in. So that's our swing high up here and swing low. So we obviously front run this 2 weeks ago, front run it again, and then finally started coming into this zone in which we took an average approach into it, giving us a overall 63,400 average with a nice rise of about 10% captured on that long with 2 TPs in that mix, and overall targeting the higher liquidity pocket and POC about 73,450 on that. So a bit of a nice position to be in, and again, that comes off the back of a 3 drives pattern short that happened 2 weeks ago. So in my position right now, I'm currently in a hedge, so I'm kind of teetering the hedge of the short here and the long here, taking 2 TPs here on this, 2 TPs here on this. So 50% of my positions remain on the long and short. So for me, it's really just about teetering and playing whatever side comes next. Whatever move is the right move that PTC decides to make, right? So overall, happy with the price action here, even though it's a bit of choppy. I know a lot of people were kind of joking that I take 1 or 2 trades per quarter, right? But those are the 2 trades that I've taken in this range, and the only trades, and I'm very happy with that. And I'll continue to just be patient on what we have. But what we have right here, right? So we have a fixed range volume profile. In this zone, we can kind of see how well respected it's been, and obviously the good swing plays to have is at the tops and bottoms of this area, right? You don't want to be chopped up in the POC of this range. So after this pump up into reclaim, we almost touched the value area high, came down, and now we're testing the support of this area here, the value area low. So we can kind of look and cake into the monthly volume profile into this. And if we look just at the monthly VWAP, and let's get the monthly open VWAP or the monthly open, I'll show you. So this is the monthly VWAP. Again, that's just at the monthly open here. You can see how well respected this monthly VWAP is from a resistance level, right? So we have a resistance here, 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 and then again after this rise, a nice SFP rejection here at this level here. That's a very well respected level. So always keep your eye on the monthly VWAP here. On really any asset, the monthly VWAP is a very strong institutional kind of price level to be looking at here. So looking at weekly profile, we've now accepted back into it, right? And we're tapped into the weekly. Let's put the weekly open here so we can see, again, this is the weekly open, pulling the fixed range volume profile and the VWAP and how respected it's been in this range as well. Now we've lost the weekly POC. It gained acceptance into it about last night, and we could be coming down to test the overall value area low of the weekly open for a full rotation. Now, where does that leave us in terms of what levels can we work with? Well, we don't have much, again, so this daily was typically the SFP, the only level that we had, and obviously we had a nice rise into that. So in terms of what we got for confluence, well, we can start to do 2 things. I mean, obviously we can look at the value area high. We do have a naked MPOC down here at 63,325. That's not really, that's again kind of sitting where my entry's at. So I'm not really looking for longs to be had there. I could take 2 plays of that. One, I could just move my stops below the low in case we're just putting in a higher low and come back up into it and take that risk, right? And then I have my short open to let me take that risk, or simply just keep the stop loss at entry and let it stop me out, and then see if we get further continuation down into this lower confluence zone. So in terms of confluence that I'm looking at in this area, again, I'm not too interested in here. We've tapped the 618. We also tapped the 618 from that swing high to this low, and even up into the 7.2, almost in the 7.86, so almost the exact same play here. So you could have shorted that the same way you longed here. So again, if we just do the pull here, we can see the exact same type of PA to the dollar, right? So we have the 618 that we came up into here and to here. So now we're kind of just in the middle of indecision for the market here and have to see what happens. Obviously, it's Friday. Weekend hours are coming into the mix here. So, I would expect that either A, we kind of base around this value area low, and maybe we have, where's the monthly profile here, a tap of the monthly volume profile, around, 64.5, right? Now, there is a bit of confluence at that level if you want to look at the 618. So we're currently tapping the 618.66, so we could see a little bit of a move down into this level here at the value area level of the monthly, come for a fake out back into range, and then do a rotation. Maybe back closer to Sunday as we kind of range in this area, right? Weekend hours, typically we see just sideways movement or a little bit of some, just some consolidation overall. So what else are we looking at here? So let's go into Elliott Wave analysis and kind of dive back into the range why we had a corrective movement. Again, we've had an all-time high, 5 wave structure down, and then we have a local 1, 2, 3, and we're working on the 4th into the 5th wave count. And obviously the reason we've had this kind of overlapping consolidating choppy price action is this is the characteristics of a wave 4 and a wave 2, which is typically corrective and choppy. So again, we had a wave 3 and then a very long choppy wave 4. We're currently seeing, we had the wave 3 here, now we're having a long choppy wave 4. And there's a bunch of ways that we've been looking at this. From an Elliott Wave perspective, you have a bit of a triangle that was put in. So if you have an A, B, C, D, E, which is typically just how wave 4s or wave 2s can form. So you have your A, B, C, here's your D and your E, and then we were looking for, we had a triangle here. Let's draw this out, right? So we had a triangle. Screw this magnet. Had a triangle just about here, and then after that E completed, at that time period, right, it looks really promising that, okay, we've had a 4th wave completion at wave E. We can come down and we're now starting to look for a impulsive Elliott wave structure to the downside for that local count into the 5th, right? Because you're always going to get from a local count, right, you have your larger macro 3 and 4, your waves in that, but you also have your local motive count within that. So you can always expect to see after the 4th wave completion, you should again see a 5 wave sequence down into the 5th of the 5th of the A. So obviously this triangle here has been if this is the start of wave 1 after 4, wave 2 cannot come up into this, so this is not a final confirmation of 4. Now we have a come up into here, and after the rejection of this 618 that I mentioned here, right? Can we assume that we're putting in an Elliott wave here? Well, to me, it doesn't really look like it's a motive sequence at the current moment. I mean, we can start to look at maybe we have a bit of a, this is a 1, 2, 1, 2, and then we're working on the 3 here. To me, it could be 1, 2, maybe we get a long 3, 4. Then I would start to look at it. But again, this doesn't fit the characteristic of a motive wave from an Elliott wave perspective. You're going to want to see a more aggressive. If this is a 1, 2, 1, 2, then this is supposed to be a very, separated aggressive wave 3 with higher volume, and we're not currently seeing that like we did over here on the 3. So in terms of where we're at with all of this, well, we could still be putting in the WXY that I mentioned, price moving in 3s. So we have the 1, 2, 3, the 1, 2, 3, and then now this could be the 1, 2, and the 3. So, bulls would really want to see this sort of move here, right, where we have an A, B, C correction structure here like this. We could also be looking at it from a 3, 3, 5 instead of a 3, 3, 3. So instead of a 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, right, a 3, 3, 3, you'd look for a 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then a 5 wave structure. So the 3, 3, 5 up into here. So you could be looking for this as the wave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And from a count of that perspective, that actually has higher odds in my opinion at the current moment, because wave 2s like to retrace to the 618. So you have the 618 back test currently happening right now. Now obviously you can see the 7.2, the 7.8, as long as it doesn't come back below this current low here. So wave 2 could come all the way down here and not do the sweep that everyone would think it would do, and then come up for a really massive, wave 3. So, within this local count, we can start to look at, well, maybe we have a 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5 wave structure, and then now we're putting in a bit of a 3 wave, 1, 2, 3 for the 2. So that would look something like 1, 2, right down to here. Oops, this would look like a 1, this is the first wave, this is the second wave, 3rd, 4th, and 5th, and then you start pairing the higher time frame confluence into that. So again, there's the POC at about 73,450, and then 80,000 up into this zone here. And from a 5 wave perspective, you might want to be looking at this perspective, because if we have a 1, 2, and a 3, that's interesting to look for the short here and here. So you kind of have to start to assess, well, this could be a 3 or a 5 if we do come up and take this high. Now you could play it for simple ways, like one, you just look at this as a high and you play an SFP whenever it kind of comes into it and acceptance back into this range, right? Now you could also just wait for the further confirmation of, is this a 5-wave structure or a 3-wave structure? So, again, even if we do correct here, right, 1, 2, 3, well, that still fits the 3, 3, 3. So, you have to take the chance of, okay, I'm looking for a short here, and maybe we do have a 3, 3, and then we kind of start to see that motive wave sequence down into the structure. Okay, well, that's a great place to look for a short, and you just have to have a clear invalidation, because if we are in a 3, 3, 5, we could see that 1, 2, 3, and then get a 4th wave, and then acceptance back in and take higher liquidity above that, and then you're short stopped. Well, then you just have to make sure that you have a plan that, okay, I'm okay with this short getting stopped, and I will attempt one more short here, right? And that's personally going to be my plan, is looking for something like that in the scenario that we start to get a bounce from this zone, we don't take this low, and we have meaningful price action back above this level here, right? So whatever the case is, I'm looking for shorts up here, whether it's at the 73,400 POC or it's at the confluence around here, which I believe there's a weekly and a daily MPOC as well. And then you can kind of cake in a little bit of a weekly VWAP level into, or not a weekly view, just the swing high view up from the wave 4. So in terms of 73 or 74,400 MPOC, here, let's just go back to the chart that I have been using for all my levels here. So let's look at the levels here, cake on the VWAP at wave 4 high. Yeah, so I mean, this is in the middle of these two levels here, and then again, let's just kind of cake in this here. So yeah, so I mean, if you do have some sort of meaningful bounce here, and then you start to see movement here, you look for one, or I'm sorry, that's not the right. You look for one, this area here, as this VWAP can kind of come down over the weekend, and then that might be a really good confluence pair to look at, right? And then you have, if that is rejected and you get a 5th wave up into here, well, then you look at this pair here, nice POC. This is, about a 3-4 day value area, so that's a good confluence to be looking for. And also, you could probably stack on, look, we can do it right now. So we pull the 618 Fibonacci. Not quite the 618, but if you do a full fib full, that would be somewhere, yeah, again, the 0.5 level, but that's again from the swing high of wave 4. So you'd really want to look at the, so again, this is the 1, right, 2, working on the 4 here into the 5, and then you would actually want to pull the Fibonacci from the high of wave 2, right? And then you look at this level here. So let's cake back the levels into this. It's not bad, because you could look at the 0.5. Let's get rid of this here. Let's get rid of these drawings. So you have, again, the anchored VWAP from the top of wave 4 coming down nicely into this. And we could be looking for, okay, maybe we get a rise up into this zone here, and let's say that this VWAP kind of starts to come down into it, and you're starting to have a meaningful price action move up. You would be looking for, all right, we have an NPOC level here, we have the 0.5 Fibonacci, and then a VWAP, so we could be looking at this as an overall short zone. You can be aggressive and just stagger into a DCA, or you just wait for the SFP style entry, or again, if that's the scenario of a 1, 2, 3, you could be looking for the 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a 5th wave up into the 76 area. And at that point, that's going to be a little bit more tricky, because you have the 6-6 and the 618 golden pocket right there, right above. So you have to be a little bit patient and just kind of assess the strength of the move, the order flow, the liquidity there, and that's again just going to take some finesse, like I said. So that covers the example of a 335 or a 333 if the wave 4 is a larger WXY scenario, right? And then we've already talked about, okay, if we've already kind of, let's just say the wave 4 just wants to conclude right here. I mean, that's feasible and possible, and it doesn't have to always have a complete structure to it. I mean, we've already put in pretty sideways consolidation range. We have actually tapped the 382, right? So if we do a Fibonacci pull again from the high of wave 2, I mean, you're looking at the wave 4 could have already been completed up here because it likes to react to the 382, and we've kind of just been in a transitionary zone until we see that impulsive nature happen. I think that's more unlikely. I do think that it makes more sense for a larger WXY in this case, unless we start to get more potential of a 1, 2, right, 3, 4, 5, and it is Friday, so I would be curious to see what we do over the weekend. I mean, you have to really consider about what CME is doing, and this value area looks a little bit different because this is the Coinbase USD versus the Bybit USD, right? So you have to kind of consider, are we going to get a really major drop down into this level? We could, and you know, again, you're just going to want to be looking at order flow. So let's go ahead and look at order flow and talk through a little bit about that. So this is the overall range that we've been in on the hourly chart. So we can go ahead and look at, okay, let's start at the 62K zone. So this is kind of where the long took place. And you know, my rationale for looking at this is the golden pocket area. There's a lot of liquidity here, and then you start to see a lot of moves, negative delta push into that support, and you see at the lows of all of these candles, you start to see trapped shorts, and you start to see a lot more negative delta come into these lows, but less of aggressive moves down. So you're seeing absorption because shorts are trying to push this down. You're seeing absorption, so bulls are showing up and taking these shorts and balancing out to a level where you see consolidation, one final push, a lot of negative delta on that push, and then a quick move up. That's exactly what you want to see from a reversal, you know, perspective. You see a quick move up with positive delta, so 16 million. That's really nice. You know, you got 12 million and 17 million over here in these candles, but you didn't have a meaningful push back up into it. You know, there was no strength in that move, so there was still active shorts pushing price down into it, but you can see at the lows the shorts were really hanging out down there. So when you get a quick move up, all of a sudden these shorts are trapped, and you have a lot of negative delta trapped at those lows. You see shorts again. You know, they're still active and they're trying to push price down, but we're seeing a rise in price. So when you see shorts like this, I mean, that's negative 14 delta on a green candle. And another one, that's a pretty good sign for bullish confluence right there. So then you see this, you know, continuation up into this. And again, this is the monthly VWAP, the 618 around this zone, and you see the opposite. You start to see, well, you know, you got some trapped longs here. You got some longs here, nothing really meaningful here, but the real delta, I mean, you did have some smart money shorts right here, but the real delta was in the move after this. So you had the nice move punch up into the VWAP 61866 and then consolidation, and that's where typically people get messed up because you want to look at what's happening in here and where the next move up or down is going to be. And you can kind of see that we've had positive delta here, and we had a bit of positive delta through this mix of candles in an attempt to push up. But again, this is where the order flow comes into key. You have longs kind of coming into this zone, a punch up in 7 million trapped here, and then what do you see? You see a move down with positive delta flooding in, not pushing the price up. So you see absorption at the highs. So shorts are absorbing and defending against the bulls, pushing price lower, and then you see one final push from shorts, and you see that massive delta kind of start to come into this, right, that you saw today. So right now, what do we see? Well, from knowing that we're at the value area low, we're near the 618, we're at the weekly POC, and then we got the monthly value area low. That's a lot of support levels to keep in mind when you're looking at this order flow. We've had a lot of negative delta push us down into this move, but you have, again, this negative delta is almost just as high as we saw on the aggressive candles over here, right? Pushing price down with aggressive nature. But what you're seeing right now is aggressive delta, negative delta coming in, but you don't have that aggressive push into it, and you're seeing absorption here, especially at the weekly VWAP. So you have shorts piling in. I mean, look at this right here. 6 million right at the weekly VWAP. So that's negative 10 million right at the weekly VWAP. That's 13 million right here just on these two candles. And then you're starting to see a tapering of shorts, and you're seeing price not really react to anything. Now, this isn't going to be meaningful until we start to see a punch back up into upper support resistance levels, upper resistance levels if we see a move back up, right? Again, you're going to have to wait. It's Friday, and personally, I don't trade, and I'm in my swing positions, so me walking you through this is more of just educational and understanding about how to read the charts from an order flow to make an educated decision if you're for some reason looking at a trade within this, which personally I don't think it's a great idea to be looking at any trades within this zone. There's not enough confluence to play with from a swing perspective. Sure, you can scalp this on the lower time frames, but again, it's more of a gamble on the weekends with low volume. So, an overall perspective, yeah, I mean, there's an interesting mix of delta here. You still had longs entering in on this move down, so those longs are trapped. But you have a lot of shorts piling in at these lows here. I mean, you can clearly see it. So really, depending on what we do here, we could simply just build up in here, right? And then just kind of have a bit of a mix of negative delta, create liquidity on both sides. So really, I'm going to be patient until Sunday CME open. I'm in my trades. I'm not going to make a decision right now. So really, at the end of the day, being patient is going to pay. Again, obviously, you want to see bulls want to see a move up into this zone for a short lower at the overall, golden pocket. I mean, where I'll leave you off on is this. This is the 618, the 66 from the macro bear structure of the bear low cycle and the bull high, all-time high. This is the bread and butter. This is what you should be saving your capital on and be looking for, because at the end of the day, I don't believe that the overall wave count is entirely terminal and finished. We still have to finish off on the 3-4, and we should get a fifth wave into that, whether we have the scenario coming up or we start to print into it lower. This is your bread and butter for a swing trader to be focused on and take more of a risk here. So if you're going to be taking risks and you're getting chopped up here, just take a step away from the charts. Don't look at this. Just wait for the golden pocket. And with that, I hope you all have a happy Friday and happy trading as always.